Hello everyone, this is Hexlex, and welcome back to another edition of Runeterra Academy. So, in this video, we're going to be talking about the last of the four main archetypes of decks that we haven't covered yet, that being control decks. Now, interestingly enough, in this current meta, there's not a whole lot of different kinds of control decks. That's usually pretty true for most metas, at least the ones I've played in this game. But this meta in particular does have a lot of combo going on with the different Ezreal and Twisted Fate decks, which is probably a factor as to why there's not very many control decks. But there is still a fairly good one out there that we're going to be playing today, and that is going to be Lux Thresh, or I guess Gruesome Lux as I call it. So the list here is relatively standard. Actually, I don't know how standard it is, to be honest. I have only very recently picked up this deck, as in, I've played fewer than 10 games with it. Normally, I'd like to play a deck, especially for a video like this, that I'm more accustomed to. But, like I said, there's not a whole lot of control decks right now. Like, I just made this deck because I didn't have a control deck among the decks I had. That said, though, this deck isn't very complicated. It's fairly straightforward in what it wants to do. So even though the deck is called Lux Thresh, really the main things we're looking for, particularly early in the game, are Radiant Guardian and Remembrance. Remembrance on turn 3 is going to be a very, very powerful play, so we pretty much always want to keep Remembrance in our opening hand. And Radiant Guardian is an excellent control tool, as well as a good mid-range tool as well. Just the lifesteal and the tough means that she can heal the vast majority of the time for at least 5, usually for 10 or more, which is going to help us stabilize very well, and is actually a reason, at least is a factor, as to why this particular deck is good, even though there's a lot of different kind of Ezreal decks running around, is because we can heal back up to 20 pretty easily. Lux and Thresh are just kind of a way to close out the game. Well, Thresh is going to want to grab Lux, we also have Rekindler to get back Lux. She does provide a sense of inevitability, which is a term I know I've used before, which again just means that the longer the game goes on while she's out, just the further and further ahead we're going to get of our opponent, to a point where they eventually just can't catch up. So that about does it for the deck. I guess I should note that Blinding Assault is particularly good with Radiant Guardian because we can bank 2 spell mana. On turn 5, we can play Blinding Assault with our 2 spell mana, Challenger against something, let this die, and then we'll have a Radiant Guardian that has lifesteal and tough and can attack on turn 5. So that's something to watch for. You can achieve the same thing with Grizzled Ranger if it survives your turn 4, although it doesn't have the Challenger, so it is less likely to play out that way than the Blinding Assault. But in any case, we'll go ahead and get to a game or two here. Oh, I just realized, sorry, I didn't talk about Control's role against the other types of decks like I have been trying to do. So, Control versus Aggro. Aggro is Control's most favored matchup because our tools can most effectively trade down their board early so they can't get in damage. I'm talking about stuff like Vile Feast, Grizzled Ranger to an extent, Single Combat, Hapless Aristocrat to an extent. Most aggro decks, this can usually get off at least one trade, ideally two with the Spiderling as well. The thing with this deck, though, is we're slightly more vulnerable to aggro than most other decks because we're really trying to play Remembrance on turn 3 as our first play, but that means we have to skip the first couple of turns. So we usually can't afford those unless we don't have Remembrance at all. Then we can do stuff like Vile Feast and Hapless Aristocrat. Blinding Assault, I would not use against early game aggro stuff. Like I said, try to save that for Radiant Guardian. If you can get this with Lifesteal on turn 5, you can stabilize pretty quickly. So against mid range, we're also favored a little bit less so than aggro because they can contest with our later game stuff with a solid, well, mid range board. That said, though, we are still pretty favored against them because our late game tools are generally better than theirs. Now, combo is going to be our toughest matchup, as I've said before. They're just going to have a lot more inevitability than we do. Like, our late game is good, but their late game is gonna, like, literally kill us. Again, against Ezreal decks in particular, we are a little bit more favored because of Radiant Guardian. She's really the star of this deck. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and make her the cover. Radiant Guardian is also, as you can tell from the fact that she's my icon, like, probably just my favorite card in the game. And then finally, Control versus Control. Really, the way that plays out is we're just going to want to try to get more long-term value than they do. So we have like this unyielding spirit here, right? Most of the time, we don't really have time to play this card, but in a Control mirror match, we can try to get into a spot where we can unyielding spirit on our Lux, and then we can just run away with the game from there. If you can manage to get unyielding spirit on Radiant Guardian against like an aggro or mid-range deck, I can't imagine there's literally any way they can beat you, unless they have like very wide boards, consistently very wide boards that survive all of your removal. So that's gonna about do it. Let's go ahead and get into some games here. Maybe just one game, because Control matches do take longer. They tend to take the longest of any deck. Control decks do tend to be more skill intensive as well. Same for combo decks. Generally, I advise newer players play aggro and mid-range, not only because they tend to have lower skill ceilings, but also because they have quicker games, and the more games you can play, the faster you can climb. So Vi Draven, interesting. PNZ and Nox usually expect to be like Draven Jinx, but we have Vi here instead. Definitely going to keep Remembrance. I'll put back Vengeance. There's a thought to Blinding Assault and Radiant Guardian, but that's a little bit slow, isn't it? I do have Vi, so I think they're a little bit slower of an aggro deck. I do think they're going to tend to be aggressive, but probably like aggro mid-range. I'm going to take a chance and try keeping these two together in my opening hand. Now, like I said, I have played very, very few games with this deck. Like I said, under 10, probably I think 8 or so. So there is a chance that I'm making very incorrect plays in mulligans. I mean, I do have experience with Lux decks. My first deck playing this game, when I picked it up back in May, was Lux Karma. I really liked that deck. It's a shame that it's not as good anymore, but yeah, Ionia just kept getting nerfed, and each Ionia kept getting nerfed, and each Ionia nerf just hurt the deck more and more. The deck was already too slow, and now just can't keep up at all, which, like I said, is really a shame. So here's a turn 3 Remembrance. We took like what, 2 damage? That's not very much.
The party has arrived.
Here's Draven, but I'm just going to go ahead and attack here. That's an interesting block on their part. I wouldn't have expected that. I would have expected, I don't know, like a Zonite Urchin block, if anything. This I would have expected them to keep, because next turn they can attack with this and Draven, and then I can't block their Draven with my Cavalry. Makes me wonder if they have another answer to their Cavalry, or my Cavalry in their hand. Maybe they're going to, like, get excited when I go to block. That wouldn't kill this, though, would it? 2 and 2 put this to 1. Yeah, get excited wouldn't do it.
Where's my money, bookie?
Draven, good to... let's talk after.
So this turn I'm going to want to try to bank 2 spell mana, so the only play I'm probably going to make this turn is Vile Feast. Also, I don't really like Arena Bookie as a card, even these kind of decks. I think it's pretty bad. Like, yeah, you can discard the Spinning Axes to get new cards, but it's kind of win more. And like I was about to say, you often want to use the Spinning Axes anyway, so...
Let's do this. Got axes needed.
Also, this explains the block earlier. They had another Flame Chompers in their hand. So here, I'm going to Vile Feast the Zonite Urchin, and I'll just take the 6 damage, that's fine. Wait, why? Looked like 3 of my mana was glowing there. That was weird. Okay. Yeah, this will bank 2 mana for next turn, so next turn we can Blinding Assault Radiant Guardian. And from there... probably be just on a straight path to victory, especially because we have a backup Radiant Guardian and even another Blinding Assault. There's, like, I guess I'm considering, like, is there any way it's worth it to Blinding Assault now? But I'm pretty sure the answer is just no. Actually, the answer is definitely just no. If they do have an answer for Valor, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to try to trade for this bookie, but if I don't, it's not a big deal at all. The most important thing is that Valor is going to die this turn. I really like this Vanguard Sergeant. This 4 Demacia card is super good. I mean, it's not, when I say it's super good, I wouldn't play this card straight up in my deck, but the fact that this 3 mana 3/3 gives you this card is pretty good. So they passed on making a play, which means they probably have a lot of fast answers. They're probably going to use one of them here. Thing is, though, like, the longer this bookie is out, the less and less likely it is for them to have a card like Mystic Shot or Get Excited, which is, I think, one of the reasons that bookie sucks as a card. Like, yeah, it's cute when you're discarding the spinning axes you don't need, or like your flame chompers or jerry rigs. But what happens when Mystic Shot is the lowest cost card in your hand? They went ahead and played another one. That's totally fine with me.
Justice will be served.
Yeah, this coming down on turn 5 and being able to attack is, like, usually an oh shit moment from what I've noticed. Like, usually after I make this action, this kind of happens here where you can tell they think for a bit, like, how bad is this for me? Then they realize it's pretty bad. I can't sing this card's praises enough. Radiant Guardian is so good. And the use of Blinding Assault with it is frankly genius. I actually have a deck idea that Radiant Guardian can slot into. Well, I shouldn't say it's my idea because I did see somebody else using it, but I want to try refining the deck and making my own version of it. And I think I'm actually going to make that a video. We'll make that our next Runeterra Academy video on building a deck. Sumpworks map, huh? Okay. That's slightly scary. I don't know if it's scary. It's a little unnerving. We'll say that. So if they... There's no way they attack with the bookie here. No, never mind. Just gonna cut off that train of thought right there. So, what are they... They're gonna attack with this. Get a spinning axe. What are they gonna try to discard it? Okay, here comes Vi. I was just about to say, the rest of their turn's gotta be a big play, like a decent sized creature or spell, and that's when I remembered Vi was in the deck at the exact moment she came down. So here, there's consideration to play Lux. What's Vi gonna challenge her? Probably a Radiant Guardian, which actually means we should just play her another Radiant Guardian this turn. That seems fine. Is there any reason I would want to play Lux instead for the next turn? I don't have a big spell I can cast, so I think the answer is no. So we'll just pass right now.
Let's boogie.
Interesting. Didn't attack with the Vi. Yeah, I guess just take the Draven attack here. Trying to figure out why Vi came down and then didn't attack. That seems a little odd to me. But given that that's the case, now I can just play Lux here.
The light follows.
I'm not concerned with Lux dying because I have the Rekindler. So that's the reason I can afford to play her kind of loosely here. We got a Vengeance. That's really good. That's super good. Yeah. We're just gonna attack with everything, I think. And then if Vi tries to get cute and block something, we'll try to Vengeance her. Alternatively, we could play this to challenge Vi, but then we can't play Vengeance. So we can't flip Lux. Flipping Lux lets us kill Draven. So, definitely attack with this. Attack with this. Trying to figure out if I want to attack with the Lux or not. I don't think I want to risk losing her, so I'm pretty sure the answer is no. So we'll just attack with these two. Okay, here's Vi. Let's see what they do if when I try to Vengeance Vi. Nothing. Perfect. There's not a whole lot they could do, really.
Pushing my limits.
And now that we've leveled Lux, this game is looking even more favored for us. Especially because, again, we have the Rekindler. So even if they answer Lux here, we're still going to get back a level 1.
Put on me mask, secure me tail, start the day.
Go ahead and use the beam on Draven here.
By the light.
You suck.
Again, like I said in the last video, I don't usually put the sound on, so I'm not used to some of these voice lines here. Yeah, this is fine. They can gather as many small-sized creatures as they like. Notice how long this arena bookie's been in play and how relatively little it's been doing for my opponent. It's not really helping them get out of the state. Captain Farron. One of the arguments I see for bookie is like, oh, well, if you can keep it alive for a long time, then it gets good value over time. But it hasn't really influenced this game that much. Captain Farron is a little scary, but not the end of the world by any means. I'm gonna play my Sergeant here. I'd like to try to end the game next turn with this for Demacia. So to Captain Farron, let's chump our cavalry? Maybe not cavalry. Yeah, I was gonna say, there's no reason to attack with these because then we can just heal. So we could actually think about just chumping Radiant Guardian to Captain Farron here. Actually, I don't know how that works. Do we take the damage and then heal, or heal and then take the damage? I guess it doesn't really matter that much. I could also just take the 8 and go to 7. That's a little risky with all these decimates, though. I guess we can use the eye here. That's what I was talking about, using the eye. I think I'd rather just chump the Sergeant. Go to 10. That's fine. Yeah, we'll just do that. I'd like this to get buffed. Plus now we can play another Radiant Guardian here. Pretty sure that's fine. Yeah.
I fight for the fallen.
I will play for Demacia. And that'll probably just hopefully be game. They can play a Decimate. That's 5 of their mana. They have 12. They would need 7. Okay, they surrendered. I was trying to figure out if there's any way they could kill me with a lot of fast damage. It would have been a stretch, but it would have been possible. So I'm trying to figure out if I would have used for Demacia in that spot. And this is interesting because, like, a lot of players would be like, oh, the game's over, I won, I don't need to think about the game anymore. But it is actually right to stop and think about these spots after the fact. So I think for Demacia might have actually not been the play there because I already had 2 Radiant Guardians. I was definitely going to heal back up to 20. I can answer their Captain Farron. Yeah, Farron could have traded into Lux, killing them both, but I had a Rekindler for Lux anyway, and I can just for Demacia later. So actually I think for Demacia was probably not the play there. Mostly just due to the fact they have all those decimates in their hand. I want to heal up more quickly. I don't want to give them a chance to decimate and then a bunch of fast damage, which again wasn't really likely, but could have happened. So, do I want to play another one? Yeah, sure, why not? This will probably be a longer video as a result, but let's just keep things consistent and do 2 games for each of these videos. Ooh, so this is going to be the new kind of Tempo Endure deck, Lista Sejani. The overall game plan is the same on their part, but if this is the build I'm thinking of, then they've swapped Elises. Oh, well, obviously they've swapped Elises for Sejanis, and they've probably thrown in a couple Ice Veil Archers too. So that's going to be a mid-range deck, which we should be favored against. Not going to keep Rekindler, not going to keep Blinding Assault, not going to keep Strike. I know they have a decent amount of 1 health minions early game. Omen Hawk, Ice Veil Ranger, Aversion Sentry, the Blighted Caretaker, and the Saplings. So I'll keep Vile Feast here. So this isn't a bad hand for a hand that doesn't have Remembrance in it.
I must get out of here.
We can make this attack because we're not trying to save this aristocrat for any particular interaction. And what I mean by that is I don't have something like a Blighted Caretaker that I want to use it on. So I'll probably end up Vile Feasting this when they attack. Actually, is there any reason to do that? You can just block with Hapless Aristocrat, bank the mana, use it later. That sounds good to me. If they attack. You might be wondering, why would you block this? You're just going to trigger the Last Breath. And yeah, that's true, but it's better than them using like a Glimpse on it or a Blighted Caretaker or something. So they didn't attack. So I think I'm just going to attack here. Interesting, they don't take the block, not even with the Omen Hawk. Oh, because they wanted to play Callista. Okay, that makes sense. Well... That sucks, because I can't really make any plays now. Like, I can't just Vile Feast this to spend my mana efficiently, because it'll just get a trigger on Callista. Plus, I think they're going to use, like, a Blighted Caretaker or something on this. Well, I guess I can't respond to that with Vile Feast. But if they try to Glimpse or something, I want to Vile Feast their Glimpse target. So I guess we'll just pass here.
Safeguard our homes.
Interesting.
Please, I have connections.
Alright, duh, that is fearsome. Yeah... Guess, no, I think I'd... Open, so I'm thinking if I want to play Glimpse here, it's a little risky because they can respond with Vile Feast and then our Glimpse fizzles, and that's really bad for us if that happens. So, I guess I'll just take this walk. We're kind of at a rough spot at the moment. We just don't have a lot of good plays.
Alert the village.
Callista made things a little awkward, and we just don't have cards that we want to actively play in general. So it's pretty unfortunate. We just have to pass back here. So here, the Spark Beast. I still can't like Vile Feast it if they respond with like Glimpse or something. Double Vile Feast on this can't be worth it. We'll try to Vile Feast this in response to whatever is going to cause the death trigger and cause it to buff. We'll see how it plays out.
These old eyes still see far and clear.
Okay, well now they can't Glimpse. So now, I think I am going to Vile Feast this. It is going to give Callista another trigger. But I think that's fine. Hopefully we can kill it before it flips with, like, I don't know, some combination of Thresh, single combat, concerted strike, maybe Vengeance. I'd like to say Vengeance for They Who Endure, though. The Callista is getting back Averrosion Sentries at the moment, which is a bit rough, because it's just going to draw on a card every time it attacks. We'll just pass here. Excuse me. Okay. So, here we can actually think about doing something like Thresh plus Vile Feast on the Callista, or like single combat.
The dagger hurts your name above all other, Thresh.
Let's take this attack and see if they do anything in response. Okay, they played Fury in the North. That's why we didn't just throw out the Vile Feast right away. Well, that's unfortunate. But it's not the worst thing that could have happened to us here. Is it the worst thing that could have happened to us? So they're going to get the death trigger no matter what, but we're going to want to deny them the draws here for sure. So it's important also to keep kind of a cool head here. Because you might be thinking, like, oh, this Callista's getting out of control. How are we going to stop it? This Callista's just going to end this game. And that could happen. That could very well happen. But there's no use freaking out about it. Because any mental energy you're devoting to freaking out about it, you're not using to figure out how you're going to get out of your bad situation. So, like, we have Vengeance here. So I think we're fine. Like I said, I would have preferred to have saved this Vengeance. There's also consideration of playing Remembrance. Because I think anything with Remembrance has enough health to block. But the thing is, if Callista attacks, it's going to just get something that can link with it anyway. So as to not let them draw a card with the Averrosion Sentry they get back, I think I'm just going to Vengeance the Callista right now. It sucks that I got to flip because now future copies will come down flipped, but it is what it is. And if they respond with a Glimpse here, which they did, then again, it is what it is. Kind of sucks I get to draw some cards, but oh well. Nothing we can really do about it, so no use freaking out. Owen Hawk is fine. Yeah, we can't do anything anyway.
Did it move?
Yeah, I mean, we'll block here, here, and here. There's no reason not to. We don't need these spiders for anything. It's a shame we're getting this discount on Remembrance, and yet we can't do anything with it, but I mean, we're in the late game anyway, so it's not super needed anyway. What are we gonna do? Hopefully we're gonna draw Radiant Guardian or something. Ooh, Rekindler. That is an option too. We can get back Thresh and start working on leveling Thresh. I think that's a really good proactive play here. Yeah, we'll just do that.
For every soul.
Normally the Rekindler is used for Lux, but this is a totally fine use for it too. Yeah, we'll take the Bark Beast, and they're just gonna block with the Sentry, so there's no real reason to attack with the Rekindler here. We're a control deck, so we can take it nice and slow. Don't have to worry about pushing in damage, because we don't win with damage over time. Like, you know how we were doing with the combo deck, like, oh, it's a longer game, but we're winning with damage over time throughout the course of the long game. Control's not really like that. We're not going to win with incidental damage, we're going to win with, like, our big stuff at the end of the game. Honestly, the vast majority of your wins as a control deck will come from your opponent conceding, rather than their Nexus total hitting 0. So here we can block like this and this. Take the 2. Pretty easily here. Or take the 3 rather from the Aversion Sentry. Pretty easily. Let's just Remembrance. I don't need any of this fast stuff this turn, and we still have Glimpse up if something happens anyway. 4? Ooh, oh, that's rough. Wow, this deck does not usually play that card, does it? That's rough. Yikes. Okay, yeah, we want to be ending the game a lot sooner now, so let me think. If I single combat this into this, that'll flip my Thresh. And then I can open attack. I'll drag this, and then this will die, but the main reason is to get out Lux. Do combat before Sejani can come down. Yeah. That seems fine with me. At this point, I'm not concerned with getting them to draw, because they already have, like, the scariest card they could possibly get. Do I want to drag this? Yeah, because I'd rather do 5 damage with the cavalry. First time I attack, so I still get it even if I do this, right? I don't know, I've never actually like flipped a Thresh before myself. Whatever. Yeah, okay, it comes out. I thought so. It startled me for a second.
The light follows.
And now we threaten them like so much here. Let's start with... So this Sajani is not coming down this turn. I'd like to save the Concerted Strike for the Sajani. I never know if I'm saying that card's name correctly. It never feels like I am. I guess we can start with Remembrance because we're not playing the Strike here. Because again, we're saving the Strike for Sajani. Probably going to play single combat as well on this Everglade Collector. No. It's got to be here to here. There we go. That's going to flip our Lux, and that'll let us kill the Tusk Raider.
A beacon through the dark.
Burn me at sea!
Is there any reason to play Valor? Not really. We'll just pass. So this is turning out pretty well. Ooh, there's the They Who Endure. It's a 13/13. Oh, yikes. That's pretty big.
A Demacian soldier is worth 10 foes.
Yeah, I was gonna say this attack. There's no chance we get to play 4 Demacia here. Excuse me. Let's block here and here. I'm just trying to figure out if I want to use Concerted Strike on They Who Endure, or if I'd still rather save it for Sajani. I guess the They Who Endure is a bigger threat. Let's just use it now. And go this one and this one. Then if I glimpse this turn, I can also get... but there's no real reason to glimpse right now. I could also just play Blinding Assault to get the final spark. Whoa! Oh, we're just dead. Okay. They had the atrocity. That sucks. But that's alright. That's gonna happen sometimes. Yeah. I mean, there's not anything we can do about it. Even if we could glimpse for a response, we couldn't play it on the stack anyway.
Losing is just an opportunity to shine even brighter.
It's very true, Lux. Very good point. And actually, I think that's the first loss that we got to show on these, the Academy videos, which is totally fine, because losing is part of the game. And that's a good example of sometimes, like, you can play to your outs, but you just get out, they just have the response, the way to kill you. But we move on, we play more games, and we just always play to the best of our ability, so that skill is always more of a factor than luck. So, I think that's going to about do it for this video. Like I said, I'm thinking the next video is going to be, like, the process of building a deck. I'll build the deck, like, on screen, and then we'll go ahead and test the game with it, and we'll talk about it from there. So that's going to do it for now. Without further ado, this is XLex, signing out. Have a good day.